Hey folks, this is Kevin Knevel in beautiful Monument, Colorado, and it is the 24th of May, 2016. I can't believe that we are almost to June already. Oh my goodness, we're almost halfway through 2016. That's insane. That's crazy. They tell me that as you get older, the time is supposed to go quicker, but time has always gone pretty quickly for me, so maybe I'm an old soul. I'm not quite sure if that's what that means. I want to make sure that everybody can see my screen. I asked you to do this a few moments ago, but if you could retype in the chat box and let me know that you can hear my voice and you can see my screen. We're going to take about an hour this evening and go through my complimentary, and complimentary is a $5 word for free. So we're going to go through my monthly complimentary training webinar. Now, I've been conducting these webinars. Thank you, everybody, for typing in the chat box. Appreciate that. So you can see my screen and you can hear my voice. Thank you very much. If you do type anything in the chat box as we go through the webinar this evening, and I do not immediately respond to you, please understand that I'm not ignoring you. It's just that when you're conducting a webinar like this, it's not easy to toggle between the chat box and everything else. So if I don't answer your question immediately, I'll make sure that I answer it at the end. And I've been conducting these webinars actually for years, but for a number of years, I stopped conducting them, and then at the beginning of 2016, I started conducting them again, and this is our 5th webinar, number 5, for the year 2016. I do record these. I do put them on my YouTube channel. I'm a little backed up. I have a few more I need to put on my YouTube channel. I think I have not put up last month's or the month before, so I am a little bit backed up. I need to either do that or have my assistant, Gina, do that. So every month, I do something a little bit different. So this month what we're going to do is we're going to do something that normally when I work with people in a private coaching relationship, I usually start with this. But when we started doing these webinars in January, we jumped right into things like LinkedIn Advanced Search and mining your connections and how to use LinkedIn status updates and who viewed your alumni and a lot of other more advanced things. But we never really covered some of the basics of how to set up an effective LinkedIn profile, how to make sure your LinkedIn settings are set up correctly. So that's what we're going to do this evening. We're going to cover some of the basics, and actually I think it's a good idea to go back from time to time to some of the basics and recover some of the basics. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So the format this evening is we're going to take about an hour. I'm going to go through some of the LinkedIn profile optimization strategies. I'm also, if we have time, going to cover LinkedIn settings, which means behind the curtain, how to set up your LinkedIn account so that it works as effectively as possible. And then if we have time at the very end, we'll open it up to a Q&A, and then we're going to turn off the recording feature because this is being recorded, and then I'm going to make a very time-sensitive, unique offer for those of you that are live on the webinar this evening. So don't leave until I tell you to. So here we go. So LinkedIn's a database. LinkedIn now has over 433 million users worldwide, 2 to 5 new users per second, and that's crazy powerful in terms of a Rolodex. So I often tell my audiences, whether they're individuals or whether they're on stages around the world, I always tell my audiences that you really want to treat LinkedIn like a Rolodex, because it really is. I remember a time years ago when Al Gore had not invented the internet yet, and we literally had things called Rolodexes, and we had little black books. I had a little black book, and when I would get a Christmas card, I would check to make sure that I had the person's return address correctly in my address book. Well, those days are gone. So now with LinkedIn, you have the ability to stay connected with people all around the world from many, many different areas. So what I would suggest, starting right now, for you listening to my voice right now, I would suggest that you adopt a new habit. And here's the new habit that I would suggest. Starting now, anyone with whom you come in contact, and what I mean by that is maybe you meet them face-to-face, maybe you receive an email from them, maybe you're in a webinar with them, maybe you're at a networking meeting with them, maybe you meet them in an airport, bar, whatever it is. Anyone with whom you come in contact, outside of anyone with whom you would not really be interested in a connection. So I'm trying to say that as delicately as I can. And let me say it real bluntly. Other than people that you don't like, I'll say it that way, other than people that you don't like for whatever reason, I'm going to suggest that you connect with people on LinkedIn, because once you're connected on LinkedIn, you have current and accurate contact information on that particular person, really pretty much forever. Now, I am in no way saying that we should spam people or bother people or harass people or anything like that. I never would ever teach anything like that, and I don't. But it just makes common sense, or uncommon sense, it makes uncommon sense that a more and more interconnected world, that you would want to at least have the ability to communicate with people at will. So just to kind of show you that I practice what I preach, let me pull up my LinkedIn profile. So you can see that I'm actually connected to 21,818 people on LinkedIn, and I have one more invitation sitting in my inbox. So I have the ability at will to communicate anytime I want, 24/7, 365, with almost 22,000 people. Well, that's a very, very nice ability. Plus, I have current and accurate work history, where they're working on all of these people. So that's very, very powerful. So LinkedIn's a database. So let's talk about LinkedIn profile optimization. If you're like me, you were told at a young age that you only have one chance to make a good first impression. And that's true. Now, when I was growing up, back in the old days, before the invention of the internet, most face-to-face, when you met somebody or wanted to make a good first impression, that was usually done face-to-face. But nowadays, due to the nature of the internet and social media, you can really make a first impression with people around the world 24/7. So it's naive to think that if you were applying for a job, or you were looking at possibly bringing on a client, or you were thinking about entering into a referral relationship, it's naive to think that the other person would not Google your name. Of course they would, because we have this thing called Google now, and you can go and you can search and you can check people out. Now, as we go through what we're going to cover here this evening, please understand that I am not in any way talking about stalking or violating people's privacy. If you Google someone's name, you're basically looking to see what kind of information is out there about that person. Now, some of that information may be accurate. Some of that information may be inaccurate. I don't know. You don't know. But you are going to make a first impression one way or another when someone Googles your name. So my simple suggestion is that your LinkedIn profile, outside of your website, if you have your own website, whether you do or whether you don't, your LinkedIn profile is effectively your online digital business card. It is. Now, for those of you listening to my voice who are employees, more than likely, you do not have your own website unless you're operating some other business outside of your primary day-to-day job. So many people really get what I'm saying when I say that your LinkedIn profile is your digital business card. It is. People are going to make an impression on you based on what's on your LinkedIn profile. Now, I've been doing this kind of work since July of 2013. So ironically, I got on LinkedIn within 60 days of the launch way back, almost 13 years ago. LinkedIn launched on Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. The 5th of this month, 13 years ago, is when LinkedIn launched. So LinkedIn's been around now for 13 years and a few weeks. It's hard to believe that time's gone that quickly. But I've been doing this pretty much longer than anybody else on earth. So I've seen a tremendous number of LinkedIn profiles over my 13 years on LinkedIn. And I can assure you that most people's LinkedIn profiles do not clearly and accurately reflect the credibility of the individual. Well, that's unfortunate, because if our LinkedIn profile is our first impression and it's not really put together well, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot without even knowing that we are. So what I want to do for the next half hour or 45 minutes or so is really go through some of the basics of making sure that your LinkedIn profile looks as good as possible, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you not only my profile, Can everybody see my screen? I want to make sure that everybody can see my screen. When I conduct a webinar like this, inevitably there's somebody that types in the chat box that says they cannot see my screen or they cannot hear my voice. And Consuelo, I don't know why you can't see my screen, but apparently everybody else can. So I apologize, not sure why that is, okay? So let's go through some of the basics of LinkedIn profile optimization. So right now you're looking at my LinkedIn profile. Now, your LinkedIn profile is always going to be a work in progress, just like you as a human being. You are a work in progress. If you're not growing, you're rotting. So I believe if you're not improving, you're actually going backwards without even knowing it. So it's a good idea to always try to be getting better at whatever it is we do for a living and improve our skill set. Well, the reason I'm saying that is because I've been on LinkedIn for 13 years and I still make changes to my LinkedIn profile all the time. So don't feel like you have to get it exactly right. You can always go back and change it later on. It's not a Mona Lisa. Just do the best you can. So here we are looking at my LinkedIn profile. We're going to look at mine, and we're going to look at a few other people's also, just as examples of what can be done. So number one, I have a headshot here. Now, for me, I use a lot of humor in my speaking, training, coaching, and consulting. So I can get away with certain things that maybe you wouldn't do. You probably wouldn't have a picture of you reading a book that you wrote while your eyes are crossed. But I can do that because I use a lot of humor, and that's kind of a funny branding type of picture. For you, you would probably just put a smiling headshot there. So that's all, nice smiling headshot. The background picture used to be a premium feature, but now it's a free feature. So everyone on LinkedIn, whether you have a premium account or not, you have the ability to put a background picture on your LinkedIn profile. Now, different people utilize this different ways. Some people put their contact information here, maybe name, address, phone number, email address, whatever, website link, they put that there. I live in Colorado, so I've got a nice Colorado picture in the background. You can put whatever you want in the background. LinkedIn doesn't make it easy because they have this strange shape right in the middle of your picture, which kind of cuts out the middle of your LinkedIn picture. But it is what it is. We have to operate within LinkedIn's parameters. I want to make you aware of another website that a lot of people are unaware of called Unsplash. Unsplash is a website where you can have access to high-resolution, royalty-free, and commercial copyright infringement-free pictures. There's hundreds of thousands of pictures on this website, and there's a search engine built into it. So if I type Colorado in here and I hit search, I'm going to pull up a tremendous number, well, not a tremendous number, but I'm going to pull up a number. Let's say I put in here sunset. If I put in sunset, now I'm going to pull up a tremendous number of sunset pictures. And if I click on any one of these pictures, it'll expand, high resolution. So I'm just showing you, I have a coaching client of mine who's a financial advisor in San Francisco. So I said, what if we put in here San Francisco? And we pulled up pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge and the Transamerica Tower and things like that. So just be aware that there is a website called unsplash.com, which is 100% free, and you can have access to these copyright-free and royalty-free, beautiful, high-resolution pictures. So I often direct people to this website as a place to find nice pictures for their LinkedIn background. Okay. Hope that helped. Somebody type in the chat box and let me know that you could see that and all that. So good. Okay. Kara, I apologize. You just typed in there, hey, Kara, I know I owe you some information. I'll be sending that to you later this evening. There you go. Everybody else can get that nice tip there. So that you guys had nothing to do with Kara. And Kara, by the way, is actually in San Francisco, beautiful San Francisco. So you can have access to beautiful background pictures. Then you have your name. Now, if you have letters after your name, MBA, CFP, CLU, EIEIO, anything like that, this would be the place where you would put that into your LinkedIn profile. Let me make you aware of something that many people don't know, or Esquire, like my friend Alan Burkholz, who is on the call. Okay, so sometimes people think they're being clever, and it actually is clever. People think, oh, I'll put my phone number up here after my name, and that way people will have access to my phone number, or I'll put my email address up here. Don't do that, folks. You don't want to do that, because that's a violation of LinkedIn's end user licensing agreement, and LinkedIn can literally pull your profile off of the website. So you don't want to put phone numbers or email addresses after your name, but there's nothing wrong with putting something like letters after your name. Then you have your headline. Your headline is 120 available characters. Now I'm going to suggest that you use as many of those 120 characters as you can to somehow try to catch people's attention. What many people do is they just put in their job title. Innocently, they do that. They don't realize that actually they have a lot more room to paint more of a descriptive word picture as to what they do and how that delivers value. Now, there's many ways that this can be done. Just like the analogy I always use, because I used to be a piano player many years ago, so I tend to think in musical terms. A piano is a piano. It's 88 keys. My piano is the same as your piano. Beethoven's piano is basically the same as Elton John's piano. But the way that Beethoven and Elton John play that piano could be different. So the way that one person would utilize this headline might be different than the way another person would utilize the headline. And you can always change it, so don't feel like you're married to it. So for me, what I'm doing is I've got the international speaker author thing. Then I take a little spacer, a little star that I took out of Microsoft Office, which I just copy and pasted into my LinkedIn profile, which is basically separating ideas, right? So international speaker author, I've got a little spacer. Social selling and relationship marketing specialist, then I've got a little spacer. Then I've got my coaching that I do outside of all of my social selling work, my life coaching, executive coaching work, inner clarity and outer success coach. Then I've got a spacer, and then I talk about all of my LinkedIn recommendations. So this is one way that this can be used. Let me show you the way that another one of my clients, this is a private coaching client of mine down in Miami, Laura. Laura's a wonderful, wonderful lady, very successful financial advisor down in Miami. She's utilizing this in more of a sentence fashion. Specialist in financial planning for writers and journalists. So that's another way that this could be utilized. Let me show you another one of my clients. This is a private coach client of mine here in Colorado, Kurt. So Kurt has kind of similar to me. I would put stars between these, but Kurt decided just to put commas. So he's got partner at Centennial Capital. And then he's got some keywords like wealth and risk management and 401k and IRA. So these are just some different ways that you could optimize your headline. That's all it is, okay? Now, underneath here, I want to make one other thing apparent to you. When you create a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn automatically generates a random string of letters and numbers underneath your picture, and LinkedIn refers to this as your public profile URL. Now, what that means is, when you're on LinkedIn, LinkedIn integrates with Google and AOL and Yahoo with search engines. So when you go to Google and you type someone's name into Google, quite often what you'll see at the top of the Google search results is a link to that person's LinkedIn profile, okay? Well, when you open up your LinkedIn account, it's a random string of letters and numbers. And what I'm suggesting you do is you click on the edit button, okay? And you edit that to be your name or some variation of your name if you need to use a middle initial or something like that because somebody else has already claimed your name, then put in your middle initial or a number after your name. But the reason I'm making a big deal out of this is because I think it's a very good idea to put in your email signature. Now, we're not talking about LinkedIn, now we're talking about email. In your email signature, I think it's a great idea to have a link to your LinkedIn profile. Hear me out. We're trying to make your LinkedIn profile look as good as possible, and we also want to make sure that as many people as possible actually look at your LinkedIn profile. Well, wouldn't it be nice if everyone who ever received an email from you could see at the bottom of your email signature that little IN, which at this point, everybody associates with LinkedIn and everybody associates the F with Facebook and the little bird with Twitter. If they saw that little IN in your email signature, they would go, oh, Alan's on LinkedIn. Oh, Kara's on LinkedIn. Oh, Consuelo's on LinkedIn. And they would click the button and it would open up another screen on their computer, and they would be looking at your LinkedIn profile. Now, pretty much every email platform, whether it's Outlook or Gmail or whatever, you have the ability to have a link in your email platform. I want to show you what I use. So if we go to my email, right now you're looking at my inbox on my email, and yes, I'm a little backed up. I have 742 messages in my inbox. When I hit compose, what you're going to see here is you're going to see my email signature. Now, I'm not suggesting that you want to have as long of an email signature as I do. But this works for me. It might not work for you. But what I want you to see here is that I have links in my email signature to 5 different social media platforms. So anyone who ever emails me, if they click on the IN, it automatically opens up my LinkedIn profile or my Facebook profile. So I'm going to show you another website that may be of interest to you or not. I use a service called YStamp. Now, somebody type in the chat box and let me know if you've ever heard of YStamp before. So a friend of mine made me aware of this a couple years ago. I forget what it costs. It's something like, I don't remember, $20 or $30 a year. It's not much money, okay? But I use YStamp, and you could create millions of different types of email signatures that have links to your social media platforms. You could put pictures. You can put all kinds of interesting and unique and creative types of email signatures. So I'm not a graphic designer, but even I could figure out how to use this. It's real simple to use. And I'm just making you aware that this is what I use for my email actually goes through Gmail, okay? If you ever receive an email from me with my email address, kevin@kevinknebel.com, that's actually a masked, M-A-S-K-E-D. It's a masked email signature that's really being run by Gmail. But I have it set up through my website, and my website guy set all that up. It's actually running on Gmail, okay? But so my YStamp account is kind of, it works with Gmail. So hopefully that was helpful, okay? Let me go back to LinkedIn and let me get rid of these couple things up here. Okay, so I would suggest that you get a link in your email signature to your LinkedIn profile. And if you need technical help with that, just let me know. Now, let's go back to my profile. Once we get down below there, what we're going to see is we're going to see the contact info. So I'm going to suggest that if you have a business mailing address, put that into your address. I would not put my home address in here if I were you. That would kind of creep me out a little bit, letting people know where my home address is, okay? So here, if you have a business mailing address, put that in, put in a phone number. Obviously, you have your email address. And then if you have a Twitter account, perhaps a link to your Twitter account. If you want people to go to your website or Facebook, you can do that too. One other thing I want you to notice here is that this says www.kevinknebel.com, and this says join my Facebook cocktail party. LinkedIn automatically defaults this to say something like company website. So let me show you how I did that. If I go up to profile and I hit edit profile, now everything in your LinkedIn profile is going to have a pencil after it, which means you can edit it. If I go to contact info and I go to my websites, LinkedIn typically defaults to company website or personal website. So I'm kind of getting into the nitty-gritty here, but kind of watch this. If I move this down to other, then I can type whatever I want in here. And then to the right of that, I put the actual website URL, including the http:// so that when someone clicks on this over here, it redirects them to this. I know this is kind of splitting hairs, but I always ask people, would you prefer that this says my website, or would you prefer that this says carapake.com or consuelo.com or alanperkoltz.com? So just be aware that you can change this to whatever the wording is that you would like to change it to. And that's basically what I did there, okay? Now, LinkedIn is constantly turning on new features, new types of things. So let's talk about this for a second. This didn't exist not too many years ago. You now have the ability to put into your LinkedIn profile all kinds of information that you couldn't put in not too many years ago. So here, if you have experience in volunteering, I would put that in. If there's certain organizations that you would be interested in volunteering for, you could put that in. Honors and awards, as they say in Texas, if you did it, it ain't bragging. Okay, so if you did it, it's not that you're showboating or trying to show off, but if you did it, why not put it in your LinkedIn profile? Organizations that you're affiliated or used to be affiliated with, courses that you've completed, maybe patents, maybe organizations, cares or causes that you care. So let me make a broad statement here, okay? I'm not a psychologist, but prior to becoming an international speaker, I was blessed that I was the top salesperson in the world for 4 different companies. I'm not saying that to brag about my sales credentials. I'm saying that just to kind of let you know that I do have some very tangible evidence that I'm pretty good at sales. Now, I think of sales, I've come to realize, because I'm a slow learner and I have a flat forehead, that means I smack myself in the forehead a lot and go, duh, duh, duh. But it took me years to really figure out that I actually look at sales differently than a lot of other people do. I'm not saying that my way's better or that I'm some enlightened Buddha, but I really look, I kind of see the world through the filter of relationships and conversations. Now, if we ever have the opportunity to work together privately or in a small group or something like that, or if you ever take advantage of any of my pre-recorded training programs, or if you ever read my newsletter, if you ever see anything that has my fingerprints all over it, you're probably going to notice pretty quickly that I'm kind of a one-trick pony. But that's not a bad thing. The one trick that I do is actually a really good trick, and it's a very profitable trick too. So for me, I kind of see everything through the lens of relationships. Now, I'm not trying to be Dr. Phil here. I'm not trying to be, you know, a big fuzzy warm teddy bear, but that's kind of how I see the world. I see it through relationships. And I came to realize many years ago that when I focus on creating, nurturing, and deepening relationships with people in a sincere, authentic, heart-centered way, please do not read into what I'm saying that this is about manipulation or anything less than being sincere. I'm totally talking about being sincere. I started to notice in my personal life and in my professional life that when I really focus on creating, nurturing, and deepening relationships, sales, referrals, things like that are just a very natural byproduct or outcome of relationship building. Now, that may sound like a kumbaya group hug moment to you, and if it does, so be it. But that's not how I mean it. I just look at the world through the lens of relationship. So here's what I really want to say. I don't have a degree in psychology, but if you're pretty good at sales, you kind of do. You kind of are an unlicensed psychologist. I started figuring out a long time ago that the more that I was willing to openly disclose about myself, and I don't mean oversharing or ripping open my kimono or anything like that, okay? I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying is if I'm comfortable sharing certain things about me that are appropriate, that's going to cause other people to become more comfortable with me. This is not deep psychology. This is just simple common sense. So what I'm suggesting is that to whatever level you are comfortable, and different people have different comfort levels. If you're the kind of person that's very, very private, you're very, very whatever, I'm not saying that's bad. It's just the way God made you. But more than likely, if that's the way you are, you're probably not going to start leading the conga line on LinkedIn, okay? To whatever level that you are comfortable disclosing information about yourself, obviously without oversharing or giving away things that you wouldn't want to openly disclose, I'm going to suggest that you put those things into your LinkedIn profile for the simple reason that huge doors of opportunity swing on little tiny hinges. And you never know when something that you put in your LinkedIn profile, that could be a personal interest, it could be a cause that you support, it could be a charity that you're involved with, or whatever. You never know how that's going to be the thing that somebody sees on your LinkedIn profile and they go, oh, Chris likes whatever. She likes doing this. I like doing that. So therefore, I feel more warm about Chris. Again, a person might not consciously say this to themselves. It just makes sense. Think about it. When you meet somebody and you figure out that you have a shared interest, you just have a more natural rapport with that person. So whatever it is that you want to put into your LinkedIn profile, put it in, because it's going to make other people more comfortable with you. Now, as we go down the profile, let's go back to Laura for a second. So I want to pull up Laura here. And again, if anybody has any questions or comments on anything that I'm saying, please feel free to type them in the chat box. Here's Laura. So in Laura's profile, once we start going down, we get into the summary. Now, I really want you to hear what I'm about to say here, because this is very, very important. You have 2,000 characters that you can put into your summary. What most people do is they really don't put in enough information, because this is your chance to shine. Why not really shine here? So also another thing that most people don't know is that LinkedIn is really built on search engine algorithms, which is a fancy way of saying that whatever words you type into the search box and hit search, LinkedIn will search through 430 million people to find who has those words in their profile. And then LinkedIn will take the people that use those words more frequently than other people, and it will pull those people to the top of the search results. So what I really want you to see here is that it's no accident that Laura, who is a financial advisor, it's no accident that she has words like financial, and she has words like taxes, that she's using over and over in her profile, not in an obvious way, a very natural way, but she's using these words very, very well, for the simple reason that when I was teaching her this, I said, Laura, if there were a way that you could make sure that your profile was seen more frequently by your best prospects than other financial advisors' LinkedIn profiles, would you want me to tell you about it? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, let's think of maybe the top 5 or 6 keywords related to your skill set, the value that you deliver, your expertise, maybe even the pain that you solve for your client. And let's sprinkle those words throughout your LinkedIn profile, because literally every time we use those words, you're going to rise higher in the search rankings than the other people. So Laura might not be a better financial advisor than 95% of the other people that are financial advisors on LinkedIn, but she's going to show up higher in the search results because she's taking advantage of LinkedIn's algorithms in a way that most people don't know could be done. So what I would suggest you do is think about maybe the top 5 or 6 or 7 keywords related to what you do, the value you deliver, the pain you solve for your clients, your credibility, and I would sprinkle those words throughout your LinkedIn profile. Now, let me give everybody that's on the call, let me give you all a free gift, okay? Type in the chat box either a yes or a no, and let me know if this would be interesting to you. If I've been doing this for 13 years, which I have, and if I've kind of figured this out many years ago, and McGraw-Hill even asked me to write a book on it, if I've kind of got this dialed in, and I know how it works, and I could save you a lot of time in terms of your profile optimization, would you want me to? I'm guessing you're going to say yes. So what I would like to give you is a free gift from me to you. Yes, and there's a lot of yeses in the like yes. Okay, so everybody's got a pulse and everybody's getting this. Good. Here's what I would like you to do. Send me an email. My email address is kevin@kevinkneppel.com. Okay? Don't send me a message on LinkedIn. As you can see, I have 966 unread messages sitting in my inbox. I'm a little backed up. I got a little bit of LinkedIn constipation. Okay? Don't send me a message through LinkedIn. Send me the message through email, because then I can just reply with the attachment. Send me an email and say, Kevin, I was on your free monthly webinar would you please send me your LinkedIn profile optimization cheat sheet? And would you also throw in all the LinkedIn templates that you normally charge people $100 for? I'm not going to charge you, folks. God has blessed me and my family very much. I'm not saying that I'm wearing 5 Rolexes or lighting cigars with $100 bills, but I've been very blessed. And I do operate from what I call a pay-it-forward mindset. So I'm paying it forward to you, okay? Now you go pay it forward to somebody else in whatever way you can, okay? So I'm paying it forward to you. If you will email me and ask me for my LinkedIn profile optimization cheat sheet, there's going to be about 9 or 10 tips that you can apply to your LinkedIn profile. And then after you apply them, please feel free to shoot me an email and say, Kevin, I applied your tips. Would you go back and look at my LinkedIn profile and help me fine tune it? And I'll be happy to. I'll be very happy to do that. And we can go back and forth on email. It doesn't take me more than a few minutes in my day to just look at your LinkedIn profile and make some simple suggestions. After you apply my tips, you're probably going to have the ball on the 5-yard line. But because I've been doing this for years, I'll get you in the end zone. I'll say, you know what, Laura, what if we did this? Or Mike, what if we tweaked that? And you never would have thought of that because you don't do this every day like I do. But I do it every day, so I can help you. So please feel free to ask me for my LinkedIn profile optimization cheat sheet and also to throw in my LinkedIn templates. And you can have all of those from me as a gift to you, okay? So Laura's profile, the keyword optimization here is very, very well done. That's why I often use Laura as an example, because she does a really good job of this. Now, many people are unaware that you can add media. Now, when I use the word media, I'm referring to things like white papers and Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints and Word documents and things like that. So when I first started working with Laura, I said, Laura, do you have any marketing material? Do you have any collateral, any PDFs or white papers or anything like that? And she said, oh my goodness, my broker-dealer, that's a word they use a lot in financial services. She said, my broker-dealer gives me tons of information. I said, well, you probably have a lot of that information on your website already. Let's go look at what you have on your website. And when we were on her website, I saw this one-page picture, which is basically a PDF. And I said, Laura, let's take this PDF and let's put it on your LinkedIn profile. And she said, why would we do that? And I said, because when people look at your LinkedIn profile, this will be more dynamic than just words, more than just static words. This is a picture, it's a graphic, it's a design. This will engage people. So just be aware that you can add media to your LinkedIn profile. So she's got a couple of things here. Well, one day I was talking to my friend Kurt, and I said, hey, Kurt, you know, what's going on, man? And he said, oh, you know, he said, I'm taking a bunch of my high net worth clients. Well, before I tell you that quick story, when I was working with Kurt, I said, have you ever been mentioned in the press or anything like that? He said, oh, yeah. He said, I've been mentioned at Bloomberg and Fiduciary News. And I said, well, let's get that information on your LinkedIn profile. Because if people can see that you were mentioned at Bloomberg, that's a lot of credibility in that, right? Not everybody gets mentioned at Bloomberg. So here's the article in Bloomberg that mentions Kurt. So again, when somebody looks at his LinkedIn profile, of course they hold him in a higher regard. They go, oh my goodness, look at this. He was mentioned in Bloomberg. So as you're listening to me, anything that would be a white paper, PDF, Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint, Word document, let's get those things into your LinkedIn profile. And it's very simple to do. So back to my story. I was talking to Kurt one day. And I said, what's going on? And he said, well, you know, Kev, once or twice a year, I take some of my very high net worth clients and I take them to a nice steak dinner. It just as a way, like a client appreciation kind of thing. And I said, oh, that's really nice. And he said, well, before I do that, I take them to a steak restaurant. Or before I go to the steak restaurant, I do a little seminar on the state of the economy and where money's moving and investing. And I said to Kurt, Kurt, what are you going to do with that? And he said, what am I going to do with what? I said, Kurt, you're telling me that you're going to be in front of a room showcasing your knowledge on financial planning, and you're not going to do anything with that? And he said, what would I do with it? I said, well, what if you gave your iPhone to your assistant, Michelle, and you had her sit in the back of the room and just record your presentation. I said, couldn't you take that video and couldn't we just put that on your LinkedIn profile? So now anybody could see your knowledge, your credibility, and this would be a completely different experience for the viewer than just reading a bunch of words that are static on a LinkedIn profile. They could get a feel for your body language, they just get a feel for you as a human being. So he did. So when you go to Kurt's profile, you can see he's got 10 video clips on his LinkedIn profile of him talking. Now, you listening to me right now, you might be thinking, well, Kevin, I don't do any public speaking. I don't do professional speaking. I'm not a speaker. Well, it doesn't matter. Let me show you what I did. If we go to my LinkedIn profile, if all you did was take your iPhone and just sit at your desk or sit, wherever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a Hollywood production. Here, if we go to my LinkedIn profile, I've got 5 video clips. This video right here. Don't be thinking, oh, I've got to get some fancy background behind me. It wouldn't matter if it was a white sheet behind you. But if you could look at the camera and you could just talk for 60 or 90, nobody's getting on LinkedIn to watch Avatar. Nobody's getting on LinkedIn to watch Titanic, okay? This is not the place to do War and Peace. But if you just talked for 60 or 90 seconds and said, hey, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to look at my LinkedIn profile, let me give you a little understanding of kind of what I do and the value that I deliver, blah, 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 then anybody that's looking at your LinkedIn profile is going to get a better feel for the kind of things you do. This is me being interviewed on a television show a couple of years ago. So here, they're getting a whole different experience of me by watching a video clip. Here's a video of me being interviewed on a television station in Denver a couple of months ago. I think we recorded this back in January, but I was kindly asked to be on a television show in the Denver market, and this is basically the interview. So again, you don't have to be on television. You could just record a video sitting in your basement as long as you sit in front of something that looks normal. Don't make it weird, but you could put video on your LinkedIn profile. Somebody type in the chat box, were you aware that you could actually put video in your LinkedIn profile? Did anybody know that? Because I'm going to tell you that most people don't have video on their LinkedIn profile. And it creates an entirely different dynamic when somebody's looking at video. So some of you were, some of you weren't, okay? As we go down, we're going to get into experience. Now, here's my simple suggestion as it relates to experience. I'm going to suggest that, and again, this is my specific suggestion. You may or may not feel comfortable with this, but my suggestion is put down any and every place that you have worked since high school or college. Now, when I make that suggestion, some of you listening to me are going to say, I don't want to put down all the places that I used to work, because if I do, then people are going to know that I'm old. And I'm going to suggest, as politely as I can, they've already seen your picture. They know, okay? It's okay. So don't worry about whether or not they think you're old. My simple psychology behind what I'm suggesting is that the more that you're openly disclosing about your past and your background, even if it has nothing to do with what you do currently, that doesn't matter. The more that you're painting the picture of who you are, where you come from, your life experiences, your career experiences, the more of a complete picture the viewer is going to get of you. So Laura, again, does this very, very well. As we scroll down the sheet here, you're going to see, or not the sheet, the LinkedIn profile, you're going to see that she's been a financial advisor for 19 years and 9 months. And there's a clear description of what she does. And again, she's maximizing the keywords. Remember that when people go on LinkedIn and they type the keywords into the search box, LinkedIn is not only pulling from your summary, it's pulling from your entire LinkedIn profile. So it's no accident that you're seeing the word being used here. You're seeing the word being used here. You're seeing the word being used here. I mean, she's very, very effectively using keyword optimization in her LinkedIn profile. I'm going to suggest that you write your LinkedIn profile in first person. Treat it like you're at a networking event. If there's any Seinfeld fans on tonight's webinar, you may remember the Seinfeld episode with a guy named Jimmy, where Jimmy liked Elaine on Seinfeld, but he talked about himself in third person. And he would say things to Elaine like, Jimmy likes Elaine, and Elaine, of course, thought he was talking about somebody else. She didn't realize he was talking about himself. And in true Seinfeld fashion, it was an absolute riot. It was hilarious. But it would be kind of weird if someone came up to you at a networking event, if they came up to my friend Alan, who's on this call, and they said, hey, my name's Kevin, what's your name? You know, what do you do? And if Alan was to answer that, well, Alan's a litigator, and Alan's an attorney who works for a large insurance company in New York, and Alan went to, that would be kind of weird. Well, it's my opinion that many people on, Alan just typed in the chat box, Jimmy likes webinars. Alan, you're brilliant, man. I love you, brother. I love you. So when somebody looks at your LinkedIn profile, put it in first person. As president of Lifespan Financial Strategies, I welcome you, blah, blah, blah. I earned the Certified Financial Planner designation. I completed, blah, blah. So put it in first person for the simple reason that that's going to feel warmer and more personal than if it's some static resume that's written in third person and it looks like it was written in a clinic, okay? We want to be warm. We want to be warm and inviting and personal and professional. So when we look at Laura's profile, she has her current place of employment and all the information there. She has her previous place of employment, which has nothing to do with financial services, and all of the information there. And as we go back in time, she just lays it out very, very nicely. So I'm going to suggest you do the same thing, okay? Then we get to education. Well, if you went to college, put the college in, put the years in. Feel free to put in as much information. If you majored in something and you were involved in a frat or a sorority, put it in. Again, the simple thinking here is the more that you're willing to put in about who you are and what you do and where you come from, the more comfortable other people are going to feel with you. She went to high school and she puts in marching band, training orchestra, math team. Let me show you another thing that most people don't know. Anything that you see in your LinkedIn profile that's in blue, like these words, if I were to click on math team right now, let's click on it. Once I click on math team, apparently there are 53,786 people on LinkedIn who have math team in their LinkedIn profile. If I just wanted to find the people that had math team on their profile in a particular industry, I could do it. If I wanted to find the people in the greater Denver area, I could do it. Apparently there's 730 people with math. So when you understand, and the way you would understand this at the level that I'm suggesting is to either work with me privately or to perhaps read my book or go through some of my training programs, which are available on my website. Again, this isn't a shameless pitch. I'll do the shameless pitch in about 3 minutes, okay? What I'm just suggesting right now is that when you really understand how to use LinkedIn, something as seemingly insignificant as the fact that you were in varsity soccer in high school can be transferred into a very simple and effective way to open a conversation with your best prospects or referral sources. So there's a method to my madness here, folks. When I'm teaching you how to optimize your LinkedIn profile, there's usually not only just one reason why I'm making a certain suggestion. There's usually 2 or 3 or more reasons why I'm making a certain suggestion, but because of time parameters on this webinar, I can't get into all the nooks and crannies that I really could if we were working together privately. So there's many reasons why I'm suggesting some of the things that I'm suggesting. So it's not just like, well, Kevin, why in the world would I put down that I like red wine? Well, hopefully now you're starting to understand that the more information you're willing to put into your LinkedIn profile, the easier it's going to be for you to connect with people and create conversations and relationships with them. So again, I look at LinkedIn. I look at the world through the lens of relationships. Most people, and again, it's not because I'm better than anybody, it's just the way that God made me. A lot of people don't look at the world that way. And that's okay. They have other strengths. God gave everybody different strengths. One of the strengths he gave me was the desire to connect with people at a deep, authentic, sincere, heart-centered kind of way. That's what I do. Now, that might sound weird to you. You might be like, oh my God, he's going hippie on me. Well, I don't care. Your opinion of me is none of my business. But you could think I'm a hippie, but let me also remind you that I was the top salesperson in the world for 4 different companies. So you might look at me on one hand and say, boy, he's like some new age crystal loving, sit around, a crystal and hum kind of guy. But on the other hand, boy, he sure knows how to succeed in business. So they're not mutually exclusive. The reason I'm saying this, and I'm hoping it's not coming across as arrogant or cocky, that's not how I mean it. The reason I'm saying this is, do I work with a lot of people in the business world? Absolutely. I work with tons of financial advisors, CPAs, attorneys, CEOs, VPs of this, VPs of that, but I also work with a lot of people in the world that are known as creatives or people that are in therapy. They're not in therapy. They deliver therapy. I came out wrong. Although I do probably work with a lot of people that are in therapy too. I work with a lot of people that are in the arts. I work with a lot of people that are right-brained, creative people for the simple reason that I am too, right? So I get it. I get how they tick. I can't tell you how many people who are creative by nature or in some form of creative endeavor come to me and they go, Kevin, I'm really good at this or I'm really good at that, but I really suck at business. And I say, well, here's the good news. You don't have to be great at business. You just have to be great at connecting with people, and you already do that, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. Let me show you how to convert that natural desire to connect with people and build relationships and possibly pay it forward. And let me show you how you can use those natural God-given skills and talents in a way that's congruent with your integrity and your value structure. Man, that sounded really, really deep when I said that. Basically what I'm saying is, let me show you how to operate in the business world in a way that doesn't force you to become somebody that you don't like. Did that make sense, folks? Did anybody get that? Did anybody hear what I just said? Okay. So, because what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter if you're some, serious business person or if you're some creative person that's trying to figure out, how do I use things like LinkedIn? How do I use things like social media to grow my business or my practice or whatever? It can be done. It can be done very, very easily if you know what to do. So here she's got some interests, snorkeling, stuff like that. So we're kind of wrapping that up. I want to just be respectful of the time because we have 3 minutes left. So what I'm going to do in the next couple minutes is I'm going to make a very soft offer. Then I'm going to hit I'm going to stop the recording, okay? And I'm going to make an even better offer. So don't jump off the call unless you have to. If you have to go, go. It's been nice having you. I appreciate your attention and your interest. I hope that you got some tips from the webinar tonight. We did not have time to get into LinkedIn settings. Perhaps we'll do that on a future webinar, okay? But we did cover a lot of ground on profile optimization. What I want to make everybody on the call aware of before I stop recording is that for you listening to this call right now, whether you're live on the call or whether you're watching this on YouTube in the future, hello people from the future, if you go to kevinknebel.com, this is my website, you can sign up for my free newsletter, which will come out tomorrow morning. Okay? Comes out about once a week. And in my newsletter, I have lots of tips that will help you in your business and also in your personal life. So please feel free to subscribe to my newsletter because it's not a thinly veiled sales pitch. It's full of content, okay? It's full of content to help you in your business. Please also feel free to look through my newsletter archive. In my newsletter archive, there's over 100 newsletters a year with content full of information that will help you. Just click read more and you will see all the information that will help you. But the offer that I want to make you is that on my website, I have a 4-hour streaming video course. So it's 2 hours on LinkedIn, 2 hours on Twitter, and this course is $197. If this interests you, you click add to cart, and immediately the system will email you your login and password. You're not going to get anything in the mail. You're not going to get books or anything like that. It's an online streaming video course that you can watch from anywhere on earth for the rest of your life. I update the videos about every 6 months to reflect the newest features and functionalities of LinkedIn and Twitter. So it's a 24/7, 365 home study course that you can watch as much as you want for the rest of your life. To be quite frank, it's the same 4-hour training that organizations pay me $15,000 to $20,000 to deliver live. Don't tell my clients that, but that's exactly what it is, okay? I just got an email 5 minutes before I got on this call asking if I would deliver this content in Minneapolis in a couple of months, and they're going to pay me about $15,000. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying it to share with you that the same thing that they're paying me $15,000 to do on stage, you could have access to forever for $197. Below that, I have a 17-hour training program. Okay, so last year I decided to create a longer course. Initially, I thought it was going to be 10 hours. It ended up being 17 hours. I am not aware of any other course on earth that goes into the depth and the detail and the nooks and crannies that my course does. I'm just not aware of it. It may exist. If it does, I haven't heard of it. Okay, so what this is it's 1 hour on what is social selling and relationship marketing, 9 hours on the most effective uses of LinkedIn, again, broken into 15 and 20-minute chapters, 4 hours on how to use Twitter, and then 3 hours on the most profitable thing that I teach. Out of everything that I teach, there is nothing that has put more money in my clients' pockets than my high-tech, high-touch system. All of that information is available in this 17-hour training program for $997, which again is a steal compared to what it costs to work with me privately or to work with me on stage. So there's 2 programs here, a 4-hour program and a 17-hour program. The moment you hit click and add to cart and you process your credit card, you will be emailed a login and password. And just check your spam folder, because sometimes it goes in people's spam folder and then they think we didn't send it to them, but we did. And then down below here, I do work with a small number of people in a one-to-one private coaching relationship. I can't work with as many people as I would like to because of my travel schedule, but if you're interested in having a conversation with me about what it would look like to either work together individually or maybe you and a small group of people at your business or your practice, I would be very happy to discuss this with you. Just email me at kevin@kevinknebel.com and we can discuss that. I also do some coaching outside of all the work I do in social selling that I refer to as my inner clarity and outer success coaching. I've been very, very active in the world of personal development, transformational insight, all kinds of different modalities relating to coaching, related to personal development over the last 30 years. I have a very unique way that I work with my coaching clients. If you ever want to explore what does that look like, what I'm discussing here has nothing to do with social media. This has to do with coaching in general. A lot of people look at coaching as trying to solve a problem. What I typically help people with in coaching is to live a more robust, dynamic, and exciting life, which of course also bleeds into making more money and all kinds of other wonderful things. If you ever want to have a conversation about my coaching, I would be happy to have that conversation with you also. I'm going to stop recording in a few seconds. Don't jump off the webinar. For those of you that are in the future, you are going to miss my special offer. For those of you that are live on the call right now, I'm going to stop recording and then I'm going to come back in 10 seconds and I'm going to make you aware of a unique opportunity. So thank you for participating in the LinkedIn information. Everybody that's on the call right now live, stay on the call for a couple seconds and I'm going to stop recording.